Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer1745 with my continuing playthrough of, yes, Hearts of Iron 4's Black Ice. And I'm learning a lot about this, and I hope you can too through watching the videos. Okay, do we have another Wella to... Okay, just motorized divisions, form more divisions, light divisions. Ah, we can invite someone to faction. Okay, Hungary. What should I say? When does a nation join the Axis? When does it join the German faction? Does Finland ever join the German faction? Historically. And it's sort of, that's somewhat up in the air. It's really sort of at some point it becomes obvious, once Mussolini declares war on, Britain and France, yes, they're in the Axis. We will invite to faction, and hopefully this goes well. Yes, and as Eric's saying, no, it was a co-combatant and not part of the Axis. And that, it's not, you're not incorrect, and that's what I'm saying, but it's right walking along the line. I could make an argument that no, it is in the Axis, and I can make an argument that yes, you're right, that it is not in the Axis because they stayed out of war with some of the other nations. So it's just sort of right in there, right on the edge. We'll do Jeff model. Finland really towed the line on it, such as rejecting the deportation of certain people and so on. Yes, and it's one of those that is, sort of yes, sort of no. And you're not wrong, Eric. I'm just saying I can make the argument either way. Where, okay, better tense. Where clearly, eventually, Hungary and Romania are in the Axis. Okay, I mean, because we can, eventually, and both of those nations have to be in a state. It'll be part of the Reich puppet. I'm going to do this is probably, and see here again we're taking reality, which is of course messy, and trying to put it into game terms. And there definitely was a puppet state of Bohemia on Mähren here. Bohemian Mähren. You can see right down here when I hover over this. That is absolutely correct fact. Now, in Hearts of Iron 3, generally, those regions just get put into the Reich, into the Greater German Reich. There were lots, not a majority, don't want to make it out seem a majority, but there were lots, in this Bohemian Moravia, not the Sudetenland, but there were lots of people that spoke German and considered themselves in some way or another German in this region. Lots of people. I don't have a good percentage right now to tell you, partially because over the years, especially once the Nazis are in power, a lot of the people that considered themselves German were leaving Czechoslovakia for Germany. So, and we see this in some research that has been done both in Czechoslovakia and particularly in Poland. And there had been a lot about a lot of German-speaking peoples, we'll call them, that found themselves in Polish territory that had been fleeing into Germany during the Weimar years and during the early Nazi years. But Hitler is sort of putting a stop to it, would say overstating it. But Hitler discourages that because, and the Nazis, it's not just Hitler, but discourages that because they want to have a victim peoples inside of Poland come to their rescue. So, you know, demographically, I don't have a good number right off the top of my head as to what percentage of people in this area consider themselves German. But I look at this as being heavily integrated into Germany once it's taken over. The Czechs, very much in living memory, figure, this is 1939. 1918, 1919 is the, end of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So if you're like 25 years old, so you were like 5 years old at the end of World War I, okay, you really don't probably remember being part of Austro-Hungary's empire. But if you're 30 years old, you probably do, because you were probably 10 years old or whatever, or older, that had if you will, a German ruling class. And there's definitely a social ethnic hierarchy, but it within the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and I hope I'm not, getting this wrong, but it wasn't, at least for, they have their sort of, especially moving into the Balkans, they're sort of primitive peoples, but it's not like the Nazis or other things, but it is there and is real. Some of the stuff that I've read in the second half of the 1930s, people stopped speaking German in Prague. A lot of the elites that considered themselves Czech spoke German, and spoke German socially, and spoke German like scientifically, if you will, for publishing and reading things, articles and papers and whatnot. They stopped that as a patriotic thing and start speaking Czech more, because they have the whole second half of the 1930s. You have the whole Sudeten push, and so Czech nationalism on the rise. So I would argue, within game terms, not real history terms, but in game terms, Bohemia and Moravia, and this, and probably about like this, and maybe, right down here on the edge, is that areas that had been, and here probably, these all, and I think, at least I know in some versions of Black Ice, these should become part of German territory. They get highly integrated into German territory. It is very different than, whether it's down here in the general government or other occupied territories, because again, that was part of the old German Empire. And so this is part of the German part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire here. So I would argue, in game terms, this is probably more correct in game terms as trying to model it. The one big thing that I would say that within game terms is incorrect is population size for recruitable population. I would have an event or an effect or whatever to radically reduce that, so that it is not that big of recruitable population in Bohemian Moravia. But industrially, for whatever, factories and other farms and whatnot, that should all be very, very integrated into the German Reich. Much, much more so than, say, Belgium or the Netherlands. And okay, yes, Eric says gray area, really unique situation for them. Yes, they were talking about Finland's and the Winter War / continuation war. Finland only cooperated with Hitler because promised military support. There was no political similarities. Very few political similarities, I would agree. Read about Erich Hartmann, and I think he was one of the best German fighter pilots. Yes, Erich Hartmann is one of the great fighter pilots. So yeah, so and so we're trying to within this game is to model history, and it's never going to be 100% correct. But as modders, which modders are game developers, they're just not doing a completely original game. They're taking a game and either in a minor way or, like in Black Ice's case, major way. Zog submits to Italy. What are we low on? Oh, we need more steel. Why? Oh, for some reason we're not getting our iron. What the fuck, Black Ice? What the hell's going on? I do believe, and there is, I say there is. I haven't gone in and modded it. I know there is trade opinion. I believe still exists as separate from diplomatic, agreement opinion. Sweden should have, or Germany. Sweden should be highly incentivized, have high trade opinion with Germany. So it should be the nation most favored here to trade with Germany, not Norway. Yeah, okay, reasonably high, but still, that seems like a lot of iron going to Norway. Yugoslavia, Poland, the Netherlands. No, Germany would be higher. Lithuania would be higher. Romania. No, Germany much higher than Romania. Finland, okay, yeah, but still, overwhelmingly, it should be Germany. It just should. The trade opinion there should just be high, and this is just infuriating because we look at again looking at history. There's a lot of social contacts between Sweden and Germany. There's not a majority and not even a biggest minority, but there was a lot of minority types, or a good minority faction. There were several different National Socialist type parties in Sweden. At this time, Germany is not seen as a big pariah in Sweden. Now, as Germany becomes invades Norway particularly, but generally also goes to war in other places, it does start to not seem to be, positively seen. But when it's not seem to be positive, and Eric, who's done some research, knows about Sweden's support for exiles, Norwegian exiles, in sort of a military sense. Sweden is afraid. Okay, people, look, Sweden is afraid. Yes, it mobilizes its army. It's building tanks. It's developing itself, but it is afraid of German intervention. So it is not going to deny selling, deny resources, selling them to Germany. Whether it's food, and they do that historically, sell food, and of course the Swedish steel, and it really is steel up here that they're making huge amounts of. Is there Swedish steel to buy? Okay, well, okay, so what we'll do here is let's come here and close. There we go. 150. Let's go down to, looks like 100. We'll go down to that. And then we'll come over here to Swedish steel, and let's see how that goes. Okay, that somewhat better. But let's reduce down that so it is more effective there. Okay. I don't know if we need more. I don't think we need more steel mills. What we will do here is another power plant. Well, let's stick it in Berlin. Offset some of our increase in power usage. There are politics and there is money. Sweden chose the money with hindsight, like a little too much regarding strategic resources. Well, no, I would say, Sweden, Switzerland, they made the right choices in World War II. They got to stay out of it. And ultimately, for both of those nations, friendly powers won. The West won enough of it. Obviously, there is the Soviet Union, which may not be friendly powers towards Sweden and Switzerland. Obviously, Spain stays out of World War II, but goes through a massive civil war, which is devastating to Spain. Portugal stays out of it. So, at this time in 1939, how do I put this? And I think we're coming up to in our current time, not in game terms or in the past, but I think right now we are coming to an age of change. I think we're going to really see the final falling apart of the Cold War model, and something new is going to come out on the other side of it. Doesn't mean that there's going to be mass chaos or a world war, but I just think various things are shifting and changing around. And I think that is what is sort of going on back in 1939. You have the Soviet Union, and if we expand this off, 35 to 1940, until the war starts, you have the Soviet Union as a big looming threat. You have chaos in places like France, especially like 1934, 35. That maybe a communist revolution, maybe a fascist takeover. All this is going on. Britain is, of the major powers, is one of the more stable ones, but it is having its mass marches, mass rallies, not necessarily all looking like to the left or something, but coal workers wanting better conditions and whatnot. And it's not necessarily leftist stuff. It's just moving out of the 19th century, you know, Dickens sort of, if you know Charles Dickens writing, that sort of world that was still sort of there. Um, Moving out of that and moving more into a 20th century, still taking time, halfway into the 20th century almost. Of course, well, just a second. I'm sorry, my throat is just a bit dry. I've been up here in the mountains for a while and it's just drying out. A little hard to talk at times. In the 1935, Spain is going, and even before that, there's chaos in Spain in the 20s and the 30s. In 1935, it's getting bad. In 1936, the Civil War breaks out. So, and is Spain going to go communist, socialist, anarchist, syndicalist, sort of laissez-faire capitalist or republicanist or sort of democratic centrist type, or is it going to go nationalist or fascist or whatever? Social democratism, yes. What is Spain going to end up being? This is so a country like Sweden is seeing chaos in France, seeing a little unrest in Britain, seeing a civil war in Spain, seeing social unrest that Mussolini really clamps down onto and is being seen as a bit clownish with their uniforms and marching around and Mussolini doing his thing, but sort of seeming to have a grasp on things, from a revolutionary sense, and see the whole Weimar period in Germany is a period of chaos from the right, from the left, from the center, from whatever, from regionalism, And so the Nazis bringing order to Germany, looking at it from, say, the Swiss or the Swedish perspective, isn't maybe seen as being some sort of entirely bad, entirely evil thing. They maybe think, oh, they're being heavy-handed with the Jews, or they're a bit overdoing it here or there or whatnot. But it's not, and if you go Kristallnacht and all the evil that was done and people dying in it, Jews. Well, that's a minor blip compared to all the people dying in Spain, okay? And now we also know huge amounts of people are dying in the Soviet Union, but that's being covered up by the New York Times. The Holodomor is being covered up by the New York Times. So I don't know how much of that, millions dying in the Holodomor versus hundreds, low thousands. I don't know that die in Kristallnacht, because there are a bunch of people that die in Kristallnacht. This is not laughing my ass off. They didn't think that either, to be honest. Very modern boomer assumption. Genoese. Okay, not quite sure exactly what you're referring to, but so I'm not trying to downplay how bad Kristallnacht is, but you look at other events going on, and of course, places like China and whatnot. Kristallnacht is a blip on the horizon compared to other things. So I don't know how much it's choosing money over politics. Now, later on, why does Germany invade Norway? Why does Germany invade Norway? Was Norway a hostile country to Germany? I would say no. Norway is, Churchill is trying to convince the British government when he's First Lord of the Admiralty to invade Norway. Not to conquer Norway, not to occupy all of Norway, but mostly sort of just invade Narvik up here to then allow troops and supplies to be sent across Sweden. I mean, that's another diplomatic or military invasion to deal with, to support, though Sweden might, because Sweden was heavily sending volunteers and military equipment. to Finland might just allow British and French troops and whatnot to come across Sweden into Finland there. And Germany, I think, is worried about the possibility of Britain, France, stealing a march on them, invading Norway before Germany can. They're worried about the strategic position with modern air capabilities and trade and anti-trade, shutting down British trade, if they don't have Norway. And they're very worried about having, which I do sort of complain here, that Black Ice is not doing the Swedish steel trade as well as maybe it should. Really worried about losing this Swedish steel because it's really, really high quality steel. Germany does not make enough steel for its needs. Germany makes a shit ton of steel, but not enough. And there's various grades of steel too. There's steel that's sort of used in rebar or something. That's low quality. That's just basics, stuff. And then there's armored steel, and then there's high tensile steel that's used to machine and cut other steel, more mild steels. And there's a bunch of different steel grades. And Sweden is producing really good up here. That during winter they can't move it. This port either freezes and or too much snow, measured in the tens of feet up here, but they can get it out through Narvik. So it's sort of a strategic position. And once Germany invades Norway, it tells Sweden Germany is willing to invade a country that is otherwise at peace, otherwise trying to be neutral, meaning, yeah, people are violating its territorial waters, both Germany and Britain, but Norway does not have a big enough navy to patrol all of this region, and it doesn't have, even maybe when it could, it doesn't really have the political will to shoot at either German or British ships that are just in Norwegian waters. Yes, it has the political will to shoot at actual invaders of land territory, but this other stuff, the coastal regions, not so much. So once Germany does this, Sweden's now really seriously worried about being invaded. So is it money or is it politics that keeps them? Because one element of politics, or if you will, international politics or diplomacy, if you will, is it a diplomatic reason to keep it going? Now, they keep it going fairly late into the war. I'm sure to the point that they could have cut it off, that Germany wouldn't have invaded them. But where is that line? At what date is Germany so hard pressed that they won't invade Sweden? And it may not be apparent to Sweden. And there is also Germany, from a diplomatic standpoint, isn't doing all bad. But, again, from a Swedish standpoint, they're fighting the Soviet Union. Okay? So do you want to stop Germany's ability to fight the Soviet Union? A lot of the Swedish elites, I mean, some of them were, National Socialist types, but a lot of them aren't. And I don't have a good rundown, but I do know that there are several parties that call themselves National Socialists. If you really look at their, because National Socialism and fascism are different ideologies. And once you get outside of Italy and Germany, sometimes parties that call themselves Nazis or National Socialists are really fascists. They're not National Socialists if you look at their ideologies, because they're different ideologies. But, shall we say, friendly political elements towards Germany, I think they're a minority position, but I think they're a significant position still in Sweden. But even the social democrat types, they don't want Stalin on their borders in Sweden. They don't want Finland to fall. They don't want, and it may not literally be on their border in the sense of, a shared border, but sharing too much of the Baltic, meaning the Baltic states, and how far into here do they want the Soviet Union? Now, they may want to see Germany collapse at that point, and the British and the Americans conquer Germany, but they also, it's sort of like a two-edged sword. So, I've often thought the best outcome of World War II would see Patton and Montgomery charging into Berlin while the Germans are holding the lines at the gates of Moscow. You know, um, so having all this army need to sort of surrender way out here because they've lost all their industrial capacity back here, and that would then allow probably something like this map to be, and this would be the edge of Soviet direct influence, instead of what becomes the Warsaw Pact, as as being a practical, realistic outcome. Now, could that have happened? Yeah, there's ways that could have happened, but it obviously didn't. So yeah, having Germany defeated, but not having Stalin, Stalin's forces in Berlin would be a good outcome. And so there are reasons, I would say, beyond simple money, to continue to sell resources to Germany. And you have to look at each nation from its own perspective. Okay. Okay. Slovakia depends. Okay. Okay. Slovakia will be a state with German support. Yeah, we'll do this little Slovak state. Let's do early radar. Time for the Tiger tank? No. No. Not yet, Arno. Not yet. Okay, more production. Okay, we're getting another farm and another power factory. So we will put on another couple of those. Military factories. Okay. We are slowly catching up. Okay, 2 more vehicle factories. 1 light vehicles, the other standard trucks. What is it that we can, better mortars. All right, we'll do that. Ooh, yeah, I hear you, Arna. You can only dream of the tiger, yes. Well, we're in 1939. The tiger will probably be 1942 or 1943. So you can go back to sleep if you want for a while till we get the tiger. It's coming, but it's taking its time. Let's come over here and do some better artillery. Okay, we have a lot of air experience. Let's see, is there... Oh, is there something I could spend it on? I know. Well, let's see. When we do some of our next air research, we can maybe spend it on some of that to boost the speed of that coming up. Okay. Yeah, we'll give Carpathia of Ukraine to Hungary. That's this bit out here. Well, Falkwolf 190. Well, let's see here. We can. It's a 1941, so we probably in 1940 we'll start researching it. It'll be too long right now, but we will get there. Speaking of the Tiger, I got it. I got the Tank Crew, a solid Tiger simulator as well. Cool. I know that was a message for Arno, but cool. Foreign volunteers, nice. A little bit more manpower. Yeah, we're doing fair on manpower. Okay, well, maybe what we should do is reassess some of these. Now, what we are right now 100% stability, and if you some of our earlier playthroughs, we had very low stability levels, and part of that is what age bracket. So let's move to 18 to 35 here. Because right now we are getting, yeah, okay, recruitable population 2, 3. Okay, so we'll do that. That'll take a little while to come about. And over here, we're going to go to, let's go to a 2-year draft. So that's recruitable population down 10%, which won't have down, but will reduce factory output and whatnot a bit more. We're not at war, so we can't do that. Okay, high taxes. High tariffs, right. I think we'll leave it as high education. Police state, yeah, that's where we want to be. State press, yes. Extensive officer training, sounds good. High standards. Standing army. Mobilization. Policies, partial mobilization. So what we need to do here is foreign investors regulated, which is where I want to do key industries, which is, we may go to do that. Let's go to, takes 120 days. And if we're going to start either late 1930 or maybe early 1940, it'll take a while to do this. So this will reduce our stability, but this is more the time to do this. 88 days to do so. So we're getting more into a war footing here. Okay, what is steel? Oh. Now we see. Now we can go back and we can get. Okay. I like micromanagement, but I also don't like having to jump through all these hoops all the time. So they've cut back. What apparently has happened is they've cut Sweden is the day. They've cut back on steel production, it seems. So now they have more iron. Wait, Czechoslovakia. Okay. Okay. So it looks like they have more iron to trade. Has terminated low trade info. All right. So we've this time, like I said, we've done this different. So I knew this would be something of a case here. So local resources, 125%. It seems like is it just it's combining? Okay. How do you go non-core control? 80 other. How do you go below? I don't know. We'll also do Eastern Plains here. Yeah, I know. Am I regretting what I chose? Not yet. But see, again with this, I would give either I would give Germany cores in this territory here. I would. Like I said, Austria, all that earlier. Because it is not like taking over Belgium. It is not like taking over Norway, taking over this particular part of Czechoslovakia. Hey, Ragar. No, I'm going to disagree with you, Ragar. Moravia and Bohemia. This is Bohemia. This is Moravia. Were core territories of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. They were the primary industrial centers of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and they were the Austrian or German elements of the Austro-Hungarian Empire as opposed to the Hungarian elements of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So I'm not talking about genetics here. I'm not talking about genetics. I'm talking about history and social history. This was the industrial heartland of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Why wasn't maybe as efficient? At least this is my, outsider's opinion. That I believe the Austro-Hungarian Empire was not as efficient as the German Empire leading up to World War One. I think one, it could be the multicultural aspect of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, in that Czechs and Moravians are not Germans, and so they do things differently than Germans. But also, they're not the same culture, so there's cultural conflicts and whatnot. And the German Empire is not 100% German. It does have large, particularly Polish, ethnic minorities as well. But it's all reasonably integrated. And so it was occupied Czech kingdom, thus it was a puppet state that shared industries if we use HOI IV terms. Well, the Winter King did not last very long. The Bohemia and Moravia were parts of the Holy Roman Empire. There was the Winter King and Queen briefly there. They were trying to be a bit more of an independent state back in, what was that? 1630s? You may know better than I do, Ragar. But I'm going to still go that this is much easier to integrate than other places. So yeah, it's Czech. It's not, and I do know there are various shades of ethnic minorities in there, but we'll just call them Czechs for the moment. The Czechs are going to be much easier to integrate into Germany because of its very much within living memory thing. Charles IV separated Czech kingdom from HRE to ensure HRE will not annex it. Thus, it was both a separate kingdom and partially part of the Holy Roman Empire. Yeah, again, I don't know all the details of it. I do know that it's firmly Austrian controlled territory by the, what it would be, the 1770s. Um, the Potato War was fought in, what was that? 1776 or 7? And that was, the Potato War was a war between Prussia and Austria, fought right along these mountain borders here, what is sort of in this game terms the Sudetenland. There were no quote unquote battles, like uh, Waterloo or I'm blanking, Borodino or other major big battles. There were maneuvering armies and skirmishes. Basically, World War was able to get workforce, but not manpower. Yes, that's, and you weren't here when I was talking earlier. The one thing I would say is the manpower. I would have an event to reduce the manpower dramatically. They did get some manpower, but they probably put in as much manpower to occupy it as they got out of it. But workforce, technological development, industrial cooperation, yes. Manpower, no. That's the one area that I would agree that, and I would just have something that reduces recruitable population, mod it in one fashion or another to reduce recruitable population. That's what I would do here. But the local resources, factories, those kind of things, I don't know. I'm going to go forward with this, but I'm just not pleased by this. Yeah, I'm going to go forward, like I say. Okay, so we can come up here. Let's grab that. Let's grab that. Let's start producing these, and we will produce 2 factory lines of those. Can't you get them by using... Well, okay. That's our Reich Protectorate. Czechoslovak Republic. Here, we could release the nation and do this. But that's only if we release the nation, as far as I know. I don't know. It may have been better to have them as a puppet. I don't know. Yeah, forced labor and military. That, yeah, there was a lot of Czech cooperation with the Germans. A lot on many levels. I am dissatisfied. This whole playthrough is still experimental for me. I just got a lot of things going on that I really have not been able to devote time to playing off camera, to learning things better. So that's part of what is going on here. Okay, that's not what I wanted. I want this here. Let's come over here. Let's look to see if we have any. Yes. No. Totenkopf standard. It's that one that we just got. I'm not seeing it. Now, how much equipment do we have here now that we've taken the Czech equipment? Czechs had lots of trucks. Okay, so now we are readjusted, though not a lot of small vehicles. Okay, let's go through this. We have there we go. We're going to need a bunch more steel. That's what I want. Okay, we need more steel. Who can we get it from? Can we get... Okay, we can get... $25. That will be enough steel for the moment. We've reasserted Eastern claims, which should get us that in a moment. Well, since we're reasserting Eastern claims, we'll build some factories out there. Establish the Gestapo and military police technology with transport and subversive. 21 days. Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact. Balkan dominance, 14 days. We can't do it until we've taken out the French Republic. Mobilize the Reich. 7 days. Okay, well, we're in May 39. $56 days for that. Okay, we'll do 28 days for that. Recently played normal HOI IV, and it was interesting to deal with the massive steel and aluminum shortage. Japan had and basically non-existent military industry. Yes. Wonder how the mod simulates it. Well, I have not played Japan for a long time with Black Ice, but we can see here sort of a historical occupation zone for, 1939, 1940, Memel. Okay, so we got Memel. This should be another area that should be. Memel was overwhelmingly ethnically German. Had been part of the German Empire. Czech equipment. Okay. Very useful, very good. And of course, Danzig is also very, very German. Okay, hopefully that logistics, that equipment gain helped me out a lot here. Oh, we need more wagons. Put the squeeze on them. More wagons. General Plastics. Yeah, the AI isn't doing too bad. Here, I presume you're referring to. Okay, aircraft. We are in 39, but we are looking at 1940 models. We'll do this. We want to get the transport so that we can then get the naval bomb. Is there another thing to research here? Looks like not here. Okay, this is where we got the general plastics. Okay, recon radios, 90 days. I guess do that. That's a little better. I think we will do is move in our SS occupation people here now.
Ausrücken! Angetreten! Ausrücken!
Restrictions upon Bulgaria lifted. Now let's look at equipment again. Okay, lots of heavy trucks. Okay, we're actually positive on trucks and things. So now we're going to start forming some of these. Slovakian oil surveys. Okay. 35 days, 10 civilian factories. Okay, a lot, but hopefully that oil will be of use. And now we're going from these light divisions to refit them with 35 Ts and 38 Ts. We have a large cushion of those units, that equipment. Garrisons. Okay, well. What? Well, we've got manpower. Well, we got garrison, but we don't know what we need more. Oh, heavy artillery. Okay, yeah, we don't have much heavy artillery. That is true.
Angetreten.
I think we have one more nasty SS unit we could send there. Thought we did. Doesn't look like it. Okay. What will we do?
Achtung. Ausrücken.
No, we're not selling any more of our food. We need our food. Well, I think we're going to start recruiting. Did I just, okay, let's see, what is this suppression? No, I don't. Back. Here, okay. Garrison. Yeah, we'll do this. And oh, equipment. There we go. That's what we got. Maintenance equipment, infantry equipment. Okay, that's. Yeah, and I think we will end this episode here. I want to thank everyone for hanging out with me. If you haven't already, of course, please like the videos. And if you're new around here, please subscribe for more controversial takes on history. See you next time for more, yes, even more Hearts of